So our first speaker is David Batchelor, who's going to talk to us about asset allocation with his presentation. So you think you know asset allocation, and I'll hand over to David.
Thanks, Kath, and thanks for letting me have a chat to you. And the reason why I wanted to cover this with everybody is that I've done a lot of presentations over the year to MDRT and PFS and that kind of stuff. And so I really want to share something different than the usual things that I would normally share, which usually practice management and how to do marketing, that kind of stuff. And so I thought, instead of going down that route, and everybody's heard what I've got to say about that, I don't think I've got anything new to say on that stuff for a while. What I wanted to share with you is a different way of thinking about asset allocation, which has got to be, probably a massively boring kind of like thing to think about. And what has that got to do with, the sort of things we talk about at MDRT? And it really comes from a conversation that I was having with myself, or maybe, 12 years ago, and understanding the thought process of a client. And those of you that have done strategic coach know that there's this whole process of trying to develop value for the clients in the client's eyes rather than what we think of as value. And I was thinking about this over and over again when I was in a particular workshop with Dan Sullivan. I was trying to think, how can we make what we do to generate more value in the client's eyes, so that what we're doing attracts the client to us. And it was in that moment I really had an epiphany, and that epiphany is that, certainly from my point of view, I'd never really built investment portfolios for clients based on the client's objectives. I did what I think most people do, which is, what level of risk are you, therefore this is what you're going to have, that kind of stuff. Whereas the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I thought, actually, surely if we really want the clients to buy into us, and if we want to differentiate ourselves from the main competition, I see the main competition as people like Hargreaves Lansdown and Fisher, and those are people that I come across all the time, the clients that I work with. I've never come across a client that might be with any of you, for example. I think once I came across a client that was with Katie Baxter, and she her office is maybe 10 miles from mine. So I've never seen any of us as a competition, but I see the competition as being Hargreaves Lansdown, Fisher, those kind of like big institutions. And so it's really about how could I differentiate ourselves in ways which they just can't really copy. And it was this epiphany that actually we're not building, certainly I was not building the investment proposition for the client based on their objectives. It was all based on what compliance said we had to do. And we all do that compliance thing over and over again. And in doing that, I suddenly realized we had to do things differently and think about the investments based on the four things that clients want. Because clients want one of four things. They either want to focus on growth, that's their main objective. Like my daughter, she's 29 and she's not going to take money out of her pension, for example, until she's in the 50s, we hope. And so her one objective is just go for growth as much as she can do. Whereas my mum, so my mum's 77, she just wants to protect what she's got. If she gets a bit of growth, that's great. As long as she gets a bit more than she gets in dividend society, that's really what her objective is. Whereas my father-in-law, for example, well, he wants to spend it. He wants to enjoy his money. And I think he's made it his goal to make sure that none of it passes down to his children. The rate at which he's going through his money, he really wants to enjoy it. And of course, then there's a fourth thing, which I think we do abysmally badly in this business. And that's this whole thing of ESG. If I could shoot the person that started that term ESG, I would willingly do that. Because, what does the E stand for? Is it ethics? Is it environment? What does the S stand for? Is it society? Is it sustainable? And what the hell is governance? Does a client really care about governance? I never had a client come to me and say, I only want to invest in funds which have a diverse board and all the companies that invest in. Clients aren't interested in that. And that's all based around what compliance says we should do. And so how do we do that and bring those objectives into things? And so we kind of like developed a way of doing that, but found to do that, we needed a tool to show to the clients, to really bring the clients in. And so we developed a tool, which I'd like to show with you because it might give you an idea of of what you of perhaps doing things differently with your clients to what you're doing at the moment. And so hopefully if I can share my screen, I'll be able to do this for you. So I hope you can all see this little screen. So this is a tool that we built, which we use with clients. And as you can see, I've got a client here, James Bond, who's decided that he's going to have a chat with us. This is our first meeting with him. And in the first meeting with the client, I would typically on my iPad bring this up. And I would explain to him, well, if you're looking to invest, James, you can either focus on growing the money because, you're not going to touch it anytime soon, or you want to enjoy it. You want to take some money out, you want to spend some money. Perhaps you're looking to pass it down to the kids at a certain time, or do you just want to protect what you've got? Those kind of like three principles. And as I do that, I would say to him, because if you really want to grow the money, then this is the asset allocation model which works best for growing money. But if you're like my mum who really wants to protect it, then this is the asset allocation model over here, which works best because you need a high degree of fixed interest and stuff like that. Or if you're like my father-in-law and you want to enjoy the money, then you need another set of investments built up in another way. Because down on the bottom right here, for example, you don't want much volatility, James. If you're going to take income out of your portfolio, or if you're going to take regular withdrawals, you don't want going up and down all over the place because we're drawing it out when it goes down. But you might be somewhere in the middle. So you might say, actually, what I want is I want to be enjoying it, but I really want a bit of growth as well. So we want to move somewhere up in that triangle. Or you might go just a little bit further up if you're thinking more about growth. What I find is every time I've shown this to the client, the moment you show them this explanation of asset allocation and the difference between these three objectives, the clients get it straight away. Straight away, they understand the relationship between their objective and that part of the asset allocation process. It's not about returns or any of that kind of stuff. It's about how do their objectives drive the asset allocation process. But then I then ask them, I don't know if you've been thinking about this, James, this whole thing about, do you want to invest ethically or green, whatever that means, because I don't understand what that means. But has anyone ever spoken to you about that? To which they normally say yes, and I say, because I don't understand what ethical investments are. I bet your idea of ethical was different to me, and my idea of environmental is different to yours, and what have you. But I was reading a book recently by David Attenborough called A Life on Our Planet. And in that book, on one page, he says, if we want to live in a sustainable world, then all the banks, building societies, pension funds should be investing in sustainable investments. And in that one sentence, I really understood what green or ethical is. It doesn't mean any other things. It's about, would you like to invest in investments that would make David Attenborough proud? And the moment I had that kind of epiphany, the clients get it. The moment you say to a client, do you want to invest in investments that will make David Attenborough proud? They get what all that ethical stuff is about. And so in doing that, we then built another part into this tool, which is the Attenborough scale. Now, none of you can use the term Attenborough scale without paying me money because I've registered that in 33 different things at the Paints and Topics. So we can't nick that. If you want to use it, then talk to me and we'll agree a way of sharing it or something. But what I can then say to the clients is on this Attenborough scale, do you want to invest in investments that make David Attenborough really happy, or don't you care? Right? Actually, I don't care about that. Or is it a case that you want to tip your toe in the water, or do you want to go most of the way there? Kind of thing? And what that does is it demonstrates over here how much they want to invest on what I'm calling the Attenborough scale. Clients immediately get it, and they understand this isn't a yes, I want to be ethical or not. It's about, do you want to do great things for the planet, and if so, how much of your portfolio do you want to do that with? Just by using this tool, immediately they get it. But of course, compliance has to stick their nose in somewhere. So what we built into it is a range of questions, which we all do. So I'm just going to click through these just quickly, just clicking at random, which will probably mean that it comes up with a very strange result. But we all have to do this whole compliance thing. And so rather than having a separate tool, which we have to send off to clients or give them a questionnaire, whatever it is, we wanted to build it into this tool so we can do in front of the client there and then, so they really understand the relationship between risk and asset allocation. So bear with me a moment, just really quickly. What did I say there? And so what that then does is that gives us a generic asset allocation based on their risk tolerances. But I can then overlay that onto his objectives, which are these over here, to give me a heat map. And what it shows me is the darker blue it is, the more appropriate it is for his level of risk. So the client has understood, okay, do I want to, make David Attenborough proud? Now, where's my objective? Well, my objective, was there. I want to focus on protecting it, say, which will give me these two asset allocations in the standard range of investments, or sustainable as in Attenborough type investment. But what it means is that as the client understands now the relationship between risk and asset allocation, he can make the decision if he wants to invest in something which is outside of his normal risk tolerance. That's for him to decide. Or he can say, no, I want to be down here. Or he can say, I want to be over here. But the point is, he can understand now, if I invest anywhere within this kind of like blue area around here, that matches my view towards investment risk and reward. But now I can link it to what my objectives are. And so in designing this tool, which we use with clients, what we found is that we close the client every single time. I've never, and my team have never closed an investment, never not closed an investment client using this tool. Because what it does is it links their objectives to the investment process, and they can see that relationship. And so I don't know how you might want to use something like this. You can build your own tool, I suppose, or you can do it on a bit of paper. That's how we started it, just on a bit of paper. But now having the tool that you show in front of the clients immediately just brings them in. But what I've done is over the last 18 months or so, as other advisors have seen this, a number of advisors have said, can they use this to for their clients? And so we've set this up so that other people that we approve, I'm not letting anybody use it, but people that we share with MDRT, because let's be honest, every one of us has shared all the ideas that we've ever had so that we can make each other practice better. It's not about competing against each other, it's about working together. And so if you want to perhaps use that tool, I'm happy to make it available to people. And it's not to charge you for anything. That's just that I'm just going to make sure you understand how to use it. But if you want to use it, then just drop me an email on the website, Wills and Trust. If you go into Wills and Trust Wealth Management, my email's on there. Or just go to info and send me that, and then I'll get someone to speak to you, and we can set it up so you can use that thing with your clients if that's what you want to do. The only thing you can't do is you can't use the term the Attenborough scale without my written approval, because we've got that registered at a patent office. That's the only thing I'm keeping for myself. But there are other ways of dealing with something like that. So I just wanted to, and I was very aware that we had a limited amount of time today, and I'm about to go off to a lunch, so a breakfast meeting that I've got up at Parliament. So I'm on a parliamentary committee, so I'm stuck in the hotel here. So I just wanted to do this fairly quickly. But if there's anything anybody would like to either ask about this now, because I didn't really want it to be a presentation, I want it to be more of a conversation. If you've got any questions, then quickly let me know if we can do that now. Or indeed, if you want to perhaps use this in your practice in some way, then drop me an email. So just before I wrap up, because as I say, I've got to go to this breakfast, has anybody got any question that they would like to ask about this, how we use it with clients, or how you can use this process with clients?
David, just a quick one. Is it editable in terms of the questions and the risk assessor, so that we can align it with whatever risk assessor we already use?
And no, if you're going to use that, you have to, because ours is built on Oxford Risk. Right. I mean, yes, I suppose you could build your own one into it, but I don't know why you'd go through that. The problem with that is it might then not align with the asset allocation models. It depends. Yes, obviously you can change it. I don't understand why you would, but I understand some of you are perhaps in networks, and it might limit your the way in which you want to do things. So I've never had anyone do that, but perhaps it could be.